Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 5 General Psychology. This week's topic is going to be human consciousness. Love this topic. We're going to talk about all things related to consciousness, altered states, sleeping, why we dream, all of those, a lot of many favorite topics for many of my psychology students that I've had over the years. Also, on a side note, want to make sure you guys have turned in your week 4 project already, and then make sure that you are ready to turn in your Anno Bib by next Sunday, June 28th at 11:59 p.m. I'm going to start this week with a simple question. How many of you have ever said the following? I'll just stay up a little later. Yeah. And then suddenly it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and you're watching videos that you never intended on watching and you're negotiating with yourself about whether tomorrow's version of you can handle the consequences. I think we've all been there. Most of us spend a third of our lives sleeping. I want you to take a second. I want you to think about that. If you live to be 75 years old, you will spend roughly 25 of those years sleeping. It's a huge investment of time. So today we're going to explore a pretty simple but intriguing question. Why would evolution allow us to spend a third of our lives unconscious? Most people think consciousness is very simple. You're either awake or you're asleep. Psychology tells us a much different story and lets us know that it's far more complicated than that. Consciousness isn't on or off. It's not black or white. It actually exists on a continuum. If you think about driving somewhere suddenly and realizing that you don't remember the last 5 minutes of your drive, which I'm sure has happened to all of us, it's not necessarily that you weren't asleep, but you weren't fully aware either. You were drifting somewhere in between. And all of this is influenced by something called our circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock. The funny thing is your body knows exactly what time it is, even when you consciously do not. That's why staying up until 3 a.m. feels very different than taking a nap at 3 p.m. Your brain isn't just tracking time, it's running on a schedule. So here's the bad news for a lot of high school and college age students. Sleep is a lot like a credit card. You can borrow from it, but eventually the bill is going to show up. Psychologists call this sleep debt. The more sleep you miss, the more attention, memory, and decision making that begins to suffer. And unfortunately, your brain doesn't care that the assignment was due at midnight. Many students I've had say, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to get extra sleep on the weekend. And that's just not how our sleep system works. One of the most fascinating questions in psychology is why do we sleep? And the really fascinating part is that psychologists don't agree on why we sleep. There are many theories that try to explain why human beings sleep and what its actual neurological value is. One theory says that we evolved to sleep because it helped our ancestors survive. Simply put, if you were asleep in a safe place at night, you're less likely to wander into danger. Another theory focuses more on cognition. This theory says that sleep helps us learn, remember, and think. And honestly, this is where most of the evidence is pretty strong. Sleep appears to help our brain organize information, strengthen memories, and improve learning, which means one of the least effective study strategies ever invented is staying up all night and studying, pulling an all-nighter. And most of us tend to do it. I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. Many people imagine sleep a lot like flicking on a light switch. You flip it on, you're awake. You flip it off, you're asleep. But sleep is actually much more similar to that of like riding an elevator. Your brain moves through different levels throughout the night. It starts in stage 1, which is light sleep. Then you enter stage 2, which is a deeper state of sleep. And then you hit stage 3, which is deep sleep, the kind of sleep where if somebody wakes you up, you temporarily forget your own name, where you are, and where you're existing. And then lastly comes REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. This is where the most vivid dreaming occurs. And here's the weird part. During REM sleep, your brain is incredibly active. In some ways, it almost looks like you're awake, but your body is temporarily paralyzed, which is probably a good thing. Imagine how much trouble we would get into when those vivid dreams feel really real and we're out doing things that our conscious mind is not aware of. And so I would say that overall is a very good thing. And then otherwise we'd be acting out our dreams every night, which could be not only scary, but it could be fatal and traumatic. This takes us into another important part that many psychologists love to investigate and study, which is dreams. Um, Psychologists have been arguing about dreams for since the argument was created, definitely for over the last 150 years. Sigmund Freud, a psychologist that we've mentioned before in this class, the father of psychodynamics, believed that dreams revealed access to our unconscious. Are they revealed unconscious wishes? Other psychologists believe that dreams help us process important life events. Still, others think that dreams are simply the brain trying to make sense of random neural activity. In other words, nobody completely agrees. There isn't any psychological theory that universally is accepted that explains if dreams have meaning and why we do them in the first place. This is one of the main reasons dreams remain one of psychology's most fascinating mysteries. For altered states of consciousness, hypnosis and meditation, these are the important things I want you all to take away. And when you're looking at the slides or you're reading the textbook, go back and double check if any of these don't make sense, or shoot me an email if you have any questions. But sleep is not the only altered state of consciousness. Hypnosis and meditation are the two others that are worth mentioning. Now, hypnosis is not mind control. You're not suddenly going to start clucking like a chicken because someone snaps their fingers. Despite what movies and pop culture suggest or try to tell you, hypnosis involves focused attention, increased suggestibility, and a different state of existing, a different level of consciousness. Meditation, on the other hand, is quite different. Meditation involves deliberately focusing attention and developing awareness of the present moment. And unlike many psychology topics, meditation has accumulated a surprising amount of scientific support. Research suggests that it may help us not only with stress, but our emotional regulation and even our sleep quality. All right, so let's wrap this up with some of the important things that we've talked about. Sleep improves learning. Sleep improves memory. Sleep improves your mood. Sleep improves your decision-making ability. And sleep overall improves your physical health. And yet, sleep is often the very first thing that people sacrifice when life gets busy. Why? As you move through the week, I want you to pay attention to your own habits. I want you to pay attention to your sleep schedule. If you were in my high school IB psychology class, I would have you guys create a sleep journal. And I think that would be a really good idea to make sure that you are protecting your sleep. If sleep wasn't important or it didn't matter, I think evolution would have got rid of it. And that doesn't seem like sleep is going anywhere. So as you move through the week, I want you to pay attention to your own habits, because one of the biggest lessons from psychology is that our brains are not machines. They are living systems. And those living systems require maintenance and work. So just like when we talked about, like when you go to bed, it's not like your brain turns off. Your brain just enters a different mode, and it enters a maintenance mode, if you will. So regardless of whether or not you think dreams have meaning, we know that it has practical purpose. So your brain, while we sleep, is doing some level of organizing and cleanup that is helping our systems remember, helping our thinking systems do what their job is designed to do, and helps our overall mood and our ability to regulate our emotions. And so think of your brain not as a machine, but as a living system. Think of sleep like a credit card. You can borrow from it, but eventually that bill is going to arrive and you're going to have to pay it in full. Your body may be awake at times, but your biological clock may think that it's bedtime. So make sure you're paying attention to when you feel most alert during the day. Sleep isn't wasted time, it's maintenance time. Okay, your brain never really clocks out, never really turns off. And don't forget, one of the least effective study strategies that we've ever invented is staying up all night and doing a cram session. So if you are a crammer or somebody who likes to procrastinate until the last minute, please take this as your life lesson of learning to change that habit or that behavior. Okay, thank you guys very much. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. I will look forward to seeing you guys in class on Wednesday. Have a great week.